return of the Knights Templar. It's a bold claim, yes? So here at the Shakespeare Authorship Round Table, we're familiar with the concept of lost history, right? The true history of the Shakespeare authorship was lost. It might be more accurate to say that it was deliberately mislaid and then covered over with each autumn's fall of forgetful leaves until one day someone woke up and said, "Who was that Shakespeare fellow anyway?" And so we began the scrambling amongst the unsatisfactory layers of legend, propaganda, and myth in search of a living truth. William Niederkorn, who was the associate cultural editor of the New York Times in 2002, said that the emerging truth about the Shakespeare authorship was the greatest cultural story of the next 200 years. When it comes to the emerging truth of the Knights Templar, I will say that this may well be the greatest cultural, historical, geopolitical, and spiritual story of the next 200 years. That's an extravagant claim, but you, my friends here at the Shakespeare Authorship, may be perhaps uniquely qualified to understand how one can peer down the rabbit hole of lost history. The adventurers step in, and suddenly an intriguing thread is placed in your hands. And you begin to follow it, whereupon it can lead you from one fascinating labyrinth into another, revelation by revelation, until you almost feel that you are being secretly led on by some mischievous muse of history who is playfully drawing you down to the very ground of what it means to be human. Now, most historical rabbit holes lead to diverting dead ends, but certain ones reveal what I can only call cosmogonic power. Now, for those of us for whom the word cosmogonic is not a household term, let me tell you, I looked it up because it felt right to me. And cosmogonic means, the dictionary tells us, a philosophical, religious, or mythical explanation of the origins of the universe. So I use the word advisedly. Again, we come to Shakespearean parallels. Let's take what Aldous Huxley had to say about Shakespeare and religion. If you say absolutely everything, it all tends to cancel out into nothing. Which is why, said Huxley, no explicit philosophy can be dug out of Shakespeare, but as a metaphysic by implication, as a system of beauty truth, constituted by the poetical relationships between the scenes and lines, and inhering, so to speak, in the blank spaces between even such words as told by an idiot signifying nothing. The plays, said Huxley, are the equivalent of a great theological summa. Now, he who will follow the Shakespeare mystery to its very roots will find himself face to face with cosmic implications, will find inescapable hermeticism, unignorable currents of alchemy. Even while Falstaff rocks the stage with hilarity and Juliet's dagger breaks our hearts, still running through the heart of the whole dazzling enterprise, we will find ourselves drawn, if we peer deeply enough down that bunny tunnel, to Egypt, to the pyramids, and to the currents of applied metaphysics and the inner union of divine feminine and divine masculine in the fire of alchemy. Currents of heretical religious practice which dove underground in Europe 708 years ago next Tuesday. Yes, October 13th, 1307. The day that gave Friday the 13th a bad name, in fact. The day that the corrupt French King Philip IV sprung his infamous trap upon the Knights Templar, which led to the Order's sudden disappearance from the pages of history. And here we have the infamous burning of Grand Master Jacques de Molay outside Notre Dame in Paris. The search for Shakespeare will lead you if you take but the right turning in the depths of time, to the poor Knights of Christ of the Temple of Solomon, as they were originally known. Their original emblem featured 2 knights on 1 horse because they were so poor, that's all they could afford. They didn't remain poor very long, as we know in history. So once we are in this fantastic wormhole of a time tunnel we quaintly misname a rabbit hole, the quality of time itself begins to alter and distort. So it's already close on 11 o'clock here on October 10th, 2015. And a scant hour remains to me in which to lure you in. And so following the modern dictum of public speakers who insist one must only aim to have one's audience retain 3 themes or facts or ideas, in the telling of which one is also encouraged to at first advise the audience of the 3 things you're going to tell them. Tell them the 3 things one by one, and then at the end you remind them of the 3 things they've learned, which is a pathetic underestimation of the retentive capacity of the Shakespeare authorship round table. So, nevertheless, forgive me, I will tell you these 3 things. First, who were the Templars? What is the truth of their origins, their purpose, their spiritual lineage? So if I could reweave a vastly complex historical tapestry into a single thread, I would say their purpose was to create a bridge in time, to recover, embody, and pass on to us the sacred knowledge which lay mouldering beneath Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Knowledge which they discovered was still a living teaching for the Sufi Muslims who arrived in Jerusalem to help those first knights understand the truth and practice for what they unearthed. And I believe we will find that we are in need of another such bridge in time today. Secondly, we will explore what happened 708 years ago next Tuesday. Why were the Templars suppressed? That is not a Templar, by the way. Why were the Templars suppressed? What proof is there? How can one trace the hidden influence of the ongoing Templar mission in the intervening centuries since the persecution? What proof is there that Saint Joan of Arc was indeed a Templar? What is the actual connection between Freemasonry and the Knights Templar? What of the darker rumors about the order? Did they, in later centuries, become connected to the subversive sect who called themselves the Illuminati? Or were they, rather, that sect's most effective opponents? We will find, in my opinion, those who feared and attacked the Templars 708 years ago were the same ilk as those who oppose the values of chivalry today. And thirdly, we will look at how did the restoration of the order take place. Is it authentic? What is its purpose? Is this merely another antiquarian enthusiasm of chest-thumping medievalists who like to joust on motorcycles at Renaissance fairs? No, it's not that. Or is there legal, canonical, chivalric, and ecclesiastical legitimacy? Most importantly, what geopolitical or spiritual impact does the restored Templar order hope to have today and in the coming years? For the unique thing about the Templar Knights is that they were warrior monks, inheritors of the guardian priest role of the Jedi priests of ancient Egypt, carrying on a mission which blends spiritual discipline with active work in the world to uphold divine justice. And to even indeed, and this was their most ancient work, going back thousands of years, to balance the flow of light along the very grid lines of Mother Earth herself. So, we begin with who were the Templars, but before I begin to answer these fascinating questions, I would like to emphasize an important point about the nature of the information I will share with you today. What I present to you is based on solid scholarship, fully supported by academically sound footnotes and references which can be found on the Order's website. Much of this work is groundbreaking and revelatory, but every last point is documented for your inspection. Beginnings. Conventionally, it is accurate to say that the Knights Templar Order was founded in 1118 AD. However, if we wish to see the larger perspective of The spiritual heritage which those 9 founding French knights brought to Jerusalem, we must dig deeper, even as they did. For in 1109, with the Crusader occupation of Jerusalem, these 9 founding knights came from France with specific intent of digging beneath the Temple of Solomon.